Today, I'll be making a pressed flower wall hanging with the flower set in resin. Plan to turn the outside like a frame in wood and then set the flower on the inside and fill it with resin. On the cavity before I put the flower in, I might pour a thin layer of resin with a color mixed in so the flower has a nice background and then the wood will be the frame. So we're going to try that today. I'll be using this wood, which I am not 100% sure what it is. I did sand down this side for a previous video where I tested a scorch marker. And yeah, it's got a nice color to it. The flower that I'll be putting in there is actually a, what do you call it? Boutonniere. This past year, I was a pallbearer for my grandfather, and this was the boutonniere that I was wearing. So when I got it home, I actually put it in my daughter's flower press, and it's probably not the best example of flower pressing, but at least preserved it enough that I should be able to put it in resin. The board is just wide enough to put the flower in. I've never done a resin pour for flowers, so we'll see how it comes out. Hopefully I can get it clear enough, clean enough that it looks good. I think first going to cut this square, and then the board has a little bit of a warp to it. So I'm going to plane down the surfaces, get it as flat as possible. I'm going to cut off a bit of the end. There's a few little checks on the end, so I'll cut off a nice clean spot. Right now I'm working, the grain goes this way, so I'm working across the grain because it's bowed this way. So I'm skimming over the two high edges and slowly bringing down the edges to the middle, and eventually when I get to the middle it should be pretty flat. So I've flattened one side, and that's going to go against the faceplate of the lathe. And then this side is mostly flat. I have a little bit of a dip down here, but it should be okay because I'm going to end up cutting a bit of it away. So what I've done on this side is I've marked the center from the corners, use a compass from the center and mark the outer edge, and from there I can just kind of scribe radius and chop off the corners and get relatively close to the line, just cut off 45 degrees. Turning this square into an octagon. And it just makes it so I don't have to turn off all this material on the lathe. So I'm just going to bring this over to the miter saw, cut off the corners just to make it a little easier. And I have this piece of plywood mounted to the faceplate, so I can glue this onto here. And what I'm going to do is bring the tailstock up close to here, lock it down, and then I can feed the tailstock in and line it up with that hole. So that'll help me ensure that this is centered to the headstock. Alright, so I got the blank glued onto here, I'm going to turn the outside round, and then I'll start working on the inside to fit the flower in here. Yep. Make sure this is level, which it is not. Alright, so we got that level. Do equal parts resin. I think I'm going to do, it's called Black Pearl Dry. Kind of like a bronzy black. You don't need too much. That should be about to it. Whoops, and I dropped some in there. Yeah, that's fine. Give it a good mix. Pour it in. I really just want a thin layer, just so we have a color background. It ended up being more of a silver than it did black. That should be okay. Final pop. Yeah, let that cure, and then I think what I'm going to do is on the back of the flower add some dabs of super glue to get it stuck to that, and then we'll cover it with just a clear coat. It's been a couple of hours since I poured this, and I have the mixing cup and it's very sticky. So my thought is, if this is sticky, rather than put CA glue on there, I think I should just be able to stick this directly to it and let it completely set up. I can kind of push down some of the parts to get it to stick well. I have like a little imperfection in the color right here, so I'm going to try to cover that. One shot at getting this. Oh yeah, definitely sticky. I think that'll work nice. Just lightly push it down Yeah, I think that'll work best. So far, looking pretty good. We'll continue to let that set. Just double check. All right. We'll do 2 ounces of this. That should be good. Mix it really well. All right, we are level. I'm gonna do very high thin pour. Hopefully get a lot of bubbles out. Okay. I've got a little bit of tape on that edge there. Just going to cover. Okay, pop the bubbles. Yeah, and come back later. All right, we are cured, I think. That's looking pretty good. So now my task is, I did have like a little bit of leakage out here along that little chip out, but I think that's good because I'll be able to sand that down flush. There was a couple of bubbles I couldn't get rid of. They rose to the top after it started setting up. But other than that, it's pretty smooth. There's a little discoloration here in the underneath. I don't know what happened there, but it's in there. Part of it now. I'm not going to do anything to the top. It's already glass smooth. No need to mess with it. And it's just slightly below the surface, so the edges of it just kind of round up nicely toward the edge. So, just going to be careful. And I've decided that I'm going to hang it not perfectly straight up and down like this, but just a slight angle, maybe like that. So this will be the top. Mark the back where the top is. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to use a tiny nail that it's not a heavy thing. It's not going to be putting a lot of strain on the nail. So in the wall will just be a little nail. So I just need a little drill bit that's just the head of the nail. And I'm going to drill a hole at a slight upward angle, and it'll be a nice hidden hanging method. I have a bit of material on the back, but I have to be careful that when I drill in, I don't poke out through the other side. So I'm going to go very slowly. All right, it's moving a lot. Let's try this again. that's... We'll ignore the first one. I don't know why the drill bit was wandering. But yeah, basically I'll have the nail on the wall, and it'll work nicely in there. Right, I'm just going to do a wax finish. Paste wax here. It's not something to eat, but it's really exciting.
It would be really hard to eat because it's too big to eat. Well, there's a couple things.
Yeah, so came out pretty good. I'm happy with it. Let's go find somewhere to hang it.